thanks for watching. This is Jessie, and this is going to be my first half of the year wrap up, my update to my TBR for the remainder of the year, and my favorites list, along with some of the stuff that I've been doing these first 6 months. So I've read 5 of the 47 books that I had on my original 2022 to read list, and out of 47, I think there were 47 on the original list. Now 12 of those have been removed, or 11 of those have been removed, because after reading Let Her Out by Natalie Siston, which was the first book after the book club at work moved to nonfiction, mostly self-help books, I kind of dropped out of that book club because that's not really, it's not my favorite thing. So I just didn't think I could suffer through it. So out of the 47 that I originally had, I did read The Book of Magic by Alice Hoffman, and this is the last installment of the Practical Magic series. I was not a fan of this last one. I feel like she was like, let's just write the story all over again, and not like copy it, but like change everything. It just didn't feel like it was the same world, like it was the same rules that the first 3 books were, which were Practical Magic, Magic Lessons, and Rules of Magic. So this one was my least favorite out of those 4 books. I did read Fires of Heaven, which is book 5 of The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. I am still planning on reading the rest of the series. I know this is starting to look like I'm going to get to book 7 and stop like I did in middle school. But in middle school, book 8 wasn't out yet, and I am going to finish reading this. I'm having to put other books in between because I have a lot of ARCs that I need to read. And also, of course, books that just kind of make their way to the top of my to-read list when I hear about them. I read The Boy with the Bird in His Chest by Emma Lund, which was one of the ARCs I got from, I believe, Simon & Schuster. I read The Girl in Ice by Erica Ferencik, which was also one of the ARCs I received from Simon & Schuster, and I read D, A Tale of Two Worlds by Michael Faber. The other books that I read this year were All Systems Read by Martha Wells, which was the first book in the, I can't remember the name of the series. Sorry. It was a really good book, though. I loved it a lot more than I thought I was going to, and I do plan on continuing with that series. I read Let Her Out by Natalie Siston, Book of Night by Holly Black, which was an ARC. I don't think it was from Simon & Schuster, though. Paradox Hotel by Rob Hart. That was an ARC, I believe, from NetGalley. Now, I liked the book. It was my favorite. It was posited to me as being comparable to Rabbits by Terry Miles, and I guess looking back, there were in some ways with the science fiction aspect of it, maybe it didn't really remind me of Rabbits by Terry Miles, because Rabbits by Terry Miles was more along the lines of that, like, born in the 80s, coming of age in the 90s type of nostalgia, so it wasn't the same to me. I read Western Skies by Darden Smith, which was the poetry and photography of Texas or the Southwest. I didn't enjoy it as much as I was hoping to. Night Crawling by Layla Motley, Pomp, Snow, and Circumstance by Neil Goldberg, Darling by Mercedes M. Yardley, North to Paradise by Usman Umar, The No Sarah by Heather Carlson, The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, which was, I don't know why I didn't think I wasn't going to like that book, because she wrote The Night Circus, and I adore The Night Circus so much that it's on my favorites list. It's on my top 20, and I've read the book like 5 times. The Starless Sea, I don't know, the longer it sat on my to-read list, the less I felt like I was going to like it. But then when I read it, I absolutely adored it, and it's probably going to be one of those books I reread also. The Shore by Katie Rund, which was an ARC from Simon & Schuster. The Snow Collectors by Tina May Hall, Deepwater by Emma Bamford, which was an ARC from NetGalley, The Hacienda by Isabel Gañez, The Downhounds by Sasha Stronach, which was an ARC from Simon & Schuster, The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher, Into the Forest, which was a collection of stories about Baba Yaga, which was an ARC from NetGalley, Ghost Music by Anne Yu, which was an ARC from NetGalley, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zavine, which was an ARC from NetGalley, The Inkwell Chronicles by J.D. Peabody, which was an ARC from Nick Kelly, and those are the books that I read. And so the last 9 or so I did a bundle review, except for Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which got its own video because I just love that book so much. And it's not really to put down the other books, it was just that when I did that video, I had just finished reading it. I was fresh in my adoration of the book, and so I did do a video on that one. So for my favorite for the first half, it was a close one. So The Starless Sea was up there, and The Snow Collectors and Night Crawling, they all made it to the list, but horror has a special place in my heart. I was reading Dean Koontz when I was like 10, and so I had to choose The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. The part in the book where there's somebody standing in a basement full of water and he's running his fingers through what the protagonist thought was his hair, but it was actually his innards, is something that's going to stay with me for the rest of my life. And so for the first half of 2022, and this may change as I stew a little bit with the stories and look back on it at the end of the year, but for the first half of 2022, it's got to be The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. I am definitely going to go read some more of that author. I am still reading Thistlefoot by Jenna Rose Nethercott and The Night Ship by Jess Kidd. John and I got caught up in Stranger Things. We started Stranger Things just in time for us to finish the last episode of season 4 part 1 before season 4 part 2 came out, or volume 2. I did not think I was going to like this show as much as I did. I am absolutely obsessed with this show. I think I might actually watch this over. There's been a lot of TV shows that I've tried to watch over, like Lost Girl, which I believe came out of Canada, and Warehouse 13, and I've never been able to actually watch a series over. Once I finish it, I know it's going to happen. It's not as exciting to me, but Stranger Things, I feel like that's going to be not quite like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I don't think I'll be able to finish 4 or 5 seasons, however many seasons it ends up being. I think it's going to end up just being 5. I don't think I'll be able to watch 5 seasons of a TV show every single year, but maybe every 5 or so years. Everything about that show is just so nerdy and cool. And just when I thought it couldn't get more geeky and like my dorky heart was like exploding, something else would happen. Is like, especially when Dustin and Susie were singing the Never Ending Story song. Oh my goodness, I just about died. John thought I was having a fit. But we did watch earlier in the year, we watched the Vikings Valhalla first, and then we watched The Last Kingdom, and then we watched Vikings. And the death scene of Ragnar Lothbrok is the best death scene monologue in the history of anything ever. Books, movies, TV shows, plays, I don't care what it is. His death monologue was the best thing ever. I've watched it over and over and over again, and I can probably recite it to you. I was so taken by The Last Kingdom, though, that I did purchase the first book in the Saxon Tales by Bernard Cornwell, but then I heard that he's got a retelling of the Arthurian legends, and I'm thinking there's just so many Arthurian legends books that I want to read that I'm probably going to make 2023 my Arthurian Legends year. And I mean, I'm going to reread everything that I read in my Arthurian Legends class. I'm going to read Legendborn. I'm going to pick up some T.H. White, some Kirsten White, definitely Bernard Cornwell. There's a lot of Arthurian legend modern retellings. So I'm gonna kind of go through them. I took the class. I figure why not add a little bit more to my Arthurian Legends repertoire. And for the rest of 2022, though, these are what I'm planning to read. And it's fluid because I have a lot of ARCs that I need to get through. And so actually probably half of these are ARCs. Our Crooked Hearts by Melissa Hart. She wrote The Hazelwood. I love The Hazelwood. I haven't read part 2 yet, but I absolutely adored The Hazelwood. I loved it so much that I sent it to my mom. Hidden Pictures by Jason Rakulak. If this book is as good as the hype, I'm going to pick up his other book, Impossible Fortress, which is sounding like it's going to be as good as Rabbits by Terry Miles and Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zavine. The Other Side of Night by Adam Hamdy, which is an ARC from Simon & Schuster. The Deluge by Stephen Markley. Now, this is an ARC from NetGalley, and I was stoked to get this because he wrote another book called Ohio that has been on my TBR for years. And now I'm kind of, I'm wondering if I'm even going to finish this and read Ohio, because it's just not doing it for me. All the Lies They Did Not Tell, the story of satanic panic in the Italian community by Pablo Trincia. And actually, I got this as an ARC from NetGalley, and then I bought it in Amazon First Reads for July, which, if you are an Amazon Prime member, Amazon First Reads is giving away 2 books for the month of July. So don't forget to get your second book, and that's one of them. I forgot I got the ARC. I didn't mean to buy it or choose it for my free book. Monsters Born and Made by Tanvi Burwa. I think this might also be an ARC from NetGalley. Lord of Chaos by Robert Jordan, that's book 6. The Starless Crown by James Rollins. The Last Bookshop in London by Madeline Martin. We Sold Our Soul by Grady Hendrix. I may also add Horror Store and Paperbacks from Hell by Grady Hendrix, simply because I'm so impressed by Grady Hendrix. The Violin Conspiracy by Brendan Slocum. The Willows by Algernon Blackwood, which actually I was pointed to from The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher, so I'm going to read that. And speaking of T. Kingfisher, I'm also planning on reading Nettle and Bone by the end of this year. Hopefully that's not all the books that I'm going to get through for the remainder of this year. It's not looking like I'm going to be going back to school this fall either. I didn't really want to talk about the reasons why, because it's annoying, but anyways, that is my mid-year review, wrap-up, favorites, TBR for the rest of the year, and possible plans for 2023. Let me know what you're reading in the comments below. Like and subscribe.